Hey, going RPG fans. Tonight I'm just going to do a quick rant on The Last Story. Now, this is the new game created by the team at Mistwalker. Now, if you don't know who Mistwalker is, it's a team that's run by Hironobu Sakaguchi. Now, Hironobu Sakaguchi, as you might have already known, he's the original creator of Final Fantasy. He used to be one of the big wigs at Squaresoft, but he left them after Final Fantasy X, and he went out and established Mistwalker. Now, Mistwalker is responsible for making Ash for the DS, Blue Dragon for the Xbox 360, and their epic masterpiece, Lost Odyssey, which is one of my favorite RPGs of this era, if not all time. So the last Story is their newest edition. Now, what's really unusual about it, which I think is pretty cool, is one, it's for the Wii of all consoles. Now, I think at one stage or another I actually did read an article on why they chose the Wii, but I think it's because it's one of the most best-selling game systems in Japan. But what I really like the fact that they put it on the Wii is it's a console that's starved for RPGs. Now I know they got Xenoblade last year, which kind of helped things along, but now they're going to put The Last Story, so hopefully they'll bring the RPG crowd back to the Wii. Because when I bought my Wii, I basically wished for a lot of RPGs on the system, and it just got to the stage where it became one of the most barren console for RPGs of all time, and I was very disappointed. But hopefully in 2011 we'll see some great games for the system. Of course, one of them being The Last Story. Now, what's really cool is just before the end of the year, I got to watch a conference streamed via Ustream. Now, you might have seen me post bulletins if you've subscribed to me, showing the link, like I provide the link for everyone to watch. And the conference went for about 2 hours, which was fantastic. Now, before I watched it, I kind of expected this to be like every other conference in Japan. Usually, someone gets behind a podium, they talk about the game, they probably show off a trailer and some slideshow. But Hironobu Sakaguchi did one step better. He actually had a demo prepared on the stage. He had his Wii up there and he had his demo, and he showed off the game for a good like an hour and a half, and I always thought that that was fantastic. Um, for the first hour, he showed off the single player. Now, what's really cool is this is a very fluid, real-time party-based action RPG. You have a button to attack, you have a button to dodge, and all sorts of other things. You can cast magic and all sorts of things. But the coolest thing that I didn't expect is there is a heavy stealth element to the game, and for all of you like me who love Metal Gear Solid, it does reward you for being stealthy. Now, I don't know if you can basically elude enemies entirely, but it gives you damage bonuses if you sneak up behind them and kill them from behind. So far, I watched the demo where he's on this rugged old pirate ship, and there was this one enemy basically doing the rounds, just keeping watch to see if anyone's coming. And he hid behind a crate, I believe, and he used this little crossbow device to shoot something at the enemy, which alerted his attention. And before the enemy could realize something's there, he stabbed him so hard he killed him outright. So it gives the impression that stealth killing is a bonus, which is also awesome. What I also like is, basically from what I've seen of the game, everything is party versus party, meaning there'll be a room of monsters. Now, experience isn't rewarded until you clear out the entire room. That's when experience points is rewarded, and that's when your characters can level up. Your characters don't level up instantly. You have to wait till you kill every monster, which is a kind of a nice touch, which is really cool. I don't know if you get penalized for running away. I'm not too sure about that yet. What's really cool is you can actually look at the room's layout before you engage the enemy. You can actually hit a button where it basically shows a bird's eye view of the room, and basically in that time you can look at the layout and plan your area, your mode of attack, which is pretty cool. I mean, it adds a tactical element to the game. Now, from what I've seen, you can only control one character at a time. I can't remember if you can switch characters, but he was mainly using the main character. Now, I hope that you can um, give orders to your party members and you can set up um, their mode of attack beforehand where you want them to focus on healing or attacking. I'm not too sure about that yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's in the game. Magic is very cool, but I can understand if some people will have um, gripes about it, because in the last story there is a incantation time. Basically, your character levitates in the air and you have a countdown before the spell is activated. So you do have to protect your character as they're casting magic, because one hit from the enemy will knock them down and you do have to start again. So for being an action RPG, there is a lot of tactics and strategies that you have to use to beat the game, because later on in the game he showed off one sequence where the enemies were very powerful, and if you do stuff around they'll just trample on you like you you won't see what's coming, I can tell you that now. So there's a lot of things at your disposal. There's a spell that I saw that's very cool, where basically you can grapple the enemy with these beams of light and you can pull them along like puppet strings, and they basically, as you move back, they move along with you. Now, as they're ensnared, your other characters come up behind them and take them out, which I also think is pretty cool. So what also, he showed us a boss battle that's very fantastic, and when I watched the boss battle, it just reminded me a lot of Monster Hunter for some odd reason. But I soon found out it's a lot more story based than Monster Hunter. Basically, you'll have your party members just go into it as much as they can, and the monster or the boss in general will do a tremendous amount of damage. I also saw at one stage the character got up upon the monster like Shadow of the Colossus and kept stabbing it, which was also awesome. But what really surprised me the most is there was one sequence where the character actually, what's the word? I don't want to use an MMO term, which is train, where you actually lure, there you go, lured the enemy. He lured the boss back outside the room. Now, I thought he was going to go outside the door and was going to reload and he was going to lose the monster. Little did I know, the boss actually followed him out the door and outside to where there was this bridge, and it was very small. Now, what was really cool is he lured out the boss to the bridge, and then it came up a story sequence where they actually destroyed the bridge, making the boss fall down, which I thought was also very awesome. Now, I can't realize this if you could kill the enemy when you first encountered it, or it required you to lure the monster out. A part of me really hopes that there are many different ways you can approach boss battles, because if you can, that would be awesome. But like I said, the game looks very fun. Now, I also want to touch upon, there is a multiplayer game. Now, the game itself is not multiplayer, but there is little mini games that is multiplayer. And the biggest one, of course, is the arena mode, where you have up to 4 people, and basically it's basically deathmatch, which is quite awesome. Now, to stop anyone from being overpowered, everyone is at a set level and they're all equal, which is really nice, because it stops people bringing their characters and just being overpowered. Now, what's really cool is Hironobu Sakaguchi challenged his other team members at Mistwalker to a deathmatch, and one of the other people that would play the game was one of my favorite composers of all time, Nobuo Uematsu. He came on the stage and he had to go at the game, which is really cool. Now, I expected Hironobu Sakaguchi to win because he's the director, he knows the ins and outs. It wouldn't surprise me if he won. He lost. And the other two, they lost too. It was Nobuo Uematsu. He beat them all, and that was really, really funny, I thought. But I gave a bit of thought, and I said to myself, if you're a guy who owns 60 plus instruments, if you ever seen inside his house, I saw a video where I saw inside Nobuo Uematsu's house. He has one room that's lit up with hundreds of instruments. I said to myself, well, if his fingers have the ability to play all these instruments, he's got to be quick with the thumbs. So that's why he was able to knock them all down, because he kicked all their asses severely, and it's fantastic to watch. Because I think he was the oldest out of all of them, and he still beat them down. Just absolutely fantastic. I thought it was hilarious. Now, one more thing I want to touch upon before I go is a couple of things that's a little cool. I'll just go into it very smallly. Um, items. Items are basically dropped from the enemy, and they're in chests. Treasure chests. Wow, didn't I stuff that up? Basically, when you open a treasure chest, it's randomized. Um, Now, I don't know if chests respawn or not, but when you open a chest, there's a little roulette that comes up. Now, when you press your button, you just hope to hell that it lands on an item you want, because it is randomized. Now, I don't know if you can do this more than once. I kind of hope you can do this more than once, because if you can't, I can see myself reloading a lot, and that would be really annoying. But one other thing that's really cool is when you equip items, it changes the appearance of your character, not just in the field, but in the cutscenes as well, which is fantastic. I can't believe they've gone to that length. Like, I'd expect this on a 360 game or a PS3, but not a Wii game. It is one of the most visually appealing games on the Wii, without a doubt. Now, to tell you the truth, I can't go too much into story because, believe it or not, this is the one game that I don't know anything about the story. From what I've seen in the story sequences, there's a lot of meetings inside a pub, which is pretty cool because I haven't played a game in a long time where there was a lot of emphasis of meetings in pubs or bars or anything, and it gives the game a sort of an edge. And because it's created by Hironobu Sakaguchi, he wrote the script, he was the main director of the game. I have no worries that it's going to be fantastic. And from what I've seen of all the ads, it's the most game that has me interested more than anything. So I really hope that they translate it well before the end of 2011. I can go on much more. I just want to touch up a couple of things. I just want to tell people why I'm interested for the game. That's why I'm wearing my Nintendo shirt. Um, to support this wonderful game. Hopefully it comes overseas before 2011. Speaking of which, I do have a couple of other rants in the future I want to talk about Nintendo-wise. There's a rant I have planned in the future called Wake Up Nintendo. And this is concerning about certain games that they haven't announced their intentions to release yet. And I'll talk about that at a later date. But for now, guys, thank you for watching, and hopefully you'll tune in next time. See ya!